All right, so it's 7 o'clock and let's get started. So thank you everybody for coming tonight. We are going to get started. So this webinar is Google's helpful content update, actionable insights for ranking on today's search engine listings. And I'm Dr. David Wank, and I am the founder of Short Hills Design, which is an internet marketing company for dentists, physicians, and small businesses. Just adjusting the Zoom windows here for a moment. I can have them on the better screen. All righty, let's move that over there. Okay, so if you have questions, we'll have a brief question and answer session at the end of the session. And if you have questions or you're watching this on a recording, you can certainly go ahead and post on our Facebook group, because that will allow us to share the questions with everybody else. Introduction. So we're going to divide this into two parts. So for part one, we're going to talk about the website owner's manual. We're going to talk about the small business internet marketing workflow. We're going to do a very brief SEO primer so we can understand a little bit more about SEO. Hold on, I'm getting a notification from Zoom. Forgive me. And okay, so a brief SEO primer. Then we're going to talk about a little bit about DIY SEO for those of you who would like DIY SEO. We're going to talk about SEO versus local SEO, and that will end part one. In part two, we're going to talk about just a few foundational Google things that you have to know. No matter who's doing your SEO, whether it's you or a company or your content, doesn't matter. Google's helpful content update, that's going to be the meat of this. We're then going to talk about some basic solutions that you can introduce right now. We're going to talk about some opportunities, and then we're going to talk about a little bit more advanced solutions. Just want to make sure that everybody can hear me. So I'm just going to write another note here. Are you able to hear me? So for those of you watching the recording, you don't see this, but I'm going to post here. Can one of the attendees just do me a favor and write yes so I can make sure that you could hear me? That would be great. All right, well, according to the diagnostics, I am, so let's keep going. All right, so the website owner's manual. The website owner's manual is a book that used to be the web design workbook for dentists, but I've modified it for pretty much any small business out there. It's a free download. It's not a how-to guide, and it's what you need to know from 10,000 feet before you invest in a website or in marketing. It is really for if you want to sit around and just kind of understand some of the terms that we use and what you need to know, what you need to expect. If you're going to have a stove installed in your home, you might not have to know exactly, how you put the connections in, but you're certainly going to want to know. You certainly need to know what it looks like and how make sure it turns on. So the internet marketing workflow, and this is for those of you who don't know, this is the power on sign. I use that just because it just gives a nice touch to these slides. So phase one. So I want to talk about the internet marketing workflow, and that workflow explains where we are in space and time. So phase one is of internet marketing is that you have a website, you're going to develop your website and set it up. That's the first thing. Everything else requires that you have a website going. Phase two is driving traffic. So you have your website set up, and whether it's search engine optimization, social media, pay-per-click marketing, website, whatever you decide to do, that is phase two, driving traffic. So phase one, we have our website. Phase two, we're now driving traffic to the website. Phase three is where we look at what's working and what's not working. So that's website analytics and tracking and conversion optimization. Analytics are what I want to know, who's coming to my website, from what geographic area, how much time are they spending on each page, things like that. And conversion optimization, which says to me, if I had 100 people come to my website and only one person submitted a contact request, then I need to know that I'm only getting 1 out of 100 people are contacting me. We need to look into why that's going on. And then phase four, website maintenance and backups, which of course your web company should be handling your website maintenance and backups for you, or you need to be involved in that process, but at least make sure that you own a backup of your own website, All of our clients own their own websites and have their own backups. And I encourage you to do the same with your web companies. That was phase 3 and phase 4. So let's talk briefly about SEO. So let's look at terminology. So at the top, you have SEO right over here. Let me grab this interesting laser pointer. So at the top, you've got SEO right here. And then SEO is divided into 2 parts. You have paid, which is pay-per-click marketing, and that's Google ads, or it could be Facebook ads or LinkedIn ads. We don't usually use LinkedIn ads for dentist to consumer. And for those of you in the group who are not dental or medical, this is a large majority of our client base is dental or medical, so that's why we use it as an example. But the concepts apply across the spectrum of small business. So paid ads, that's paid, that's called search engine marketing or PPC, pay-per-click. The other end of it is organic SEO. So organic SEO is when you type in your browser, lawyer near me, and something comes up. So there's 2 divisions of SEO. There's on-site SEO, which means the content of your website. Is your code correct? Is your HTML correct? Do your keywords match the user intent? If you have a search for dental veneers and something comes up for, a dental laboratory that makes veneers, that's probably not what your customer was looking for. Someone who wants a lab that makes veneers would say, dental laboratory veneers. Someone who wants to know if I can have veneers or what the cost of veneers is would say, what is the cost of dental veneers? And then of course your site speed. Now off-site SEO, that's the second half of SEO that we're not going to talk about tonight. That's getting people to link to you and some other factors that we're just not going to get into right now that don't really matter for this part of the discussion. But the take home is that there's paid SEO on one side, organic on the other side. What we're talking about tonight is organic because paid is paid. We'll show that in a moment. So what is organic SEO? I hate reading slides, but I might read 1 or 2 of them tonight because they're that important. 1, so organic SEO is the process by which we place carefully researched keywords in specific locations within your website. And so what that means is that if you are a real estate attorney and you want to, have more real estate deals, you're saying, I'm a real estate lawyer. The title of your page probably should be real estate lawyer. And then the subheading might be, I am a real estate lawyer here in, Maplewood, New Jersey. And then the next heading would be, what are the functions of how does a real estate attorney help you? And so obviously that's much more important than if you have an entire page about where you went to law school. And at the very bottom, it says, by the way, I'm a real estate attorney. So certainly that makes a difference. Now, so organic search, as we said, is based on the content of your website. So I'm looking here over at this sample search results. It's used car dealer because I had once done dentists during a webinar and it was dentist near me during a live talk pre-COVID and someone who's in the audience came up. So we don't want to do that anymore. So we've got over here organic search and you can see this is broken down. This is a couple of years old, but this is broken down. These are Google paid ads. I'm going to show you that in a minute. It's now really the 3-pack. This is Google Maps, which I'll show you shortly. And over here, this is organic search. So whatever reason that New York used cars drivers visit majorworld.com, Google has decided that for my location where I was searching for the term used car dealer, that these 3 websites match that search term most closely. Now, paid search, you see paid search here on the top and on the side. And so you create advertisements with their pay-per-click program and you pay only when people click on your ads. So the good news is that you can spend more money to try and rank higher, higher placement here. But if someone does click on your ad, you are paying for that click, whether they become a client or not, or a patient or not. So that's really important when you're doing any kind of pay-per-click work to have really good tracking in place. I mean, we do, but you really need to make sure that you know what you're spending and what you're spending it for, and are you getting sales, conversions, new patients on the other end? Because if you're not, you're wasting your money because you could really blow out a paid search budget very quickly if you're not careful. So where does SEO fit into the big picture? So we talked about earlier, phase 1 was development and phase 2 is search engine optimization, driving traffic. So the small business SEO blueprint, which we're not going to talk about tonight, but one of the main components of an SEO campaign is writing content. And so we're going to talk about tonight, obviously, content, because this is about Google's content update. And so if we didn't know where we were in the big picture with content, then we're not going to really understand where it all fits. So we are in the content section over here. So do-it-yourself SEO. There are some DIYers out there, and that's awesome. And so we have a 10-module do-it-yourself SEO course. I will send these slides out when the presentation's done tomorrow. But this is really, if you wanted to dig in and do your own SEO, you could certainly look at this course and take a look and run your own campaign. It's not trivial, but it's exciting and it's interesting, and certainly feel free to check that out. It's free. So now, other foundational Google things that you need to know. So number one, Google Analytics. So Google Analytics is a free tool that lets you independently track your website's performance. Think of it as an EKG for your website. And it is the de facto standard of web analytics and web tracking. And the idea behind Google Analytics is that you ask questions and you get answers. Now, I have another entire training about analytics and how to look at it, so we're not going to get into that tonight. But an important key for Google Analytics is, well, let's see. I had 100 visitors this month and 100 visitors the month before that. And now I'm paying for an SEO campaign. Do I have more than 100 visitors? Because if I still have 100 visitors and I'm paying a lot of money to drive traffic, then something isn't working. So you're using analytics to ask questions, and then from analytics, you get answers. Now, so by the way, if you have questions, you can feel free to raise your hand. I can see the hand raising thing here on Zoom, just so you know. So this is big. Now, Google Analytics is out and Google Analytics 4 is in. So the Google Analytics we've been using for around 10 years, Google's dumped it for an entirely different system. So we are slowly contacting all of our clients to migrate everybody over, because Google does stop reporting July 1st, 2023 for GA3, which means all the analytics you have now will be gone, or not gone, but will stop recording. So our recommendation is to migrate now, so you can have GA3 and GA4 running at the same time. Is what we're doing for our clients. And if you are a client and we haven't contacted you yet, we'll be out you soon, because we are, again, migrating everybody. So this way we are testing your implementation and your conversion. So this way we know when GA4 comes on July 1st, 2023, when GA3 is gone, we're not going to be able to test your new data versus the old data. So that's why we're migrating now. I recommend that if you haven't done it yet and you're not our client, you should talk to your web company or your marketing people about migrating over. We have a service that we do as well. And so you can certainly check that out with us as well. Okay, so now you've got to have, and I put it under must have here. So you must have Google Analytics. And now you must have Google Search Console. All of our clients have Google Search Console, but you should as well, and you should own it in terms of own the account. So Google Search Console, it used to be Webmaster Tools. Google Search Console lets you know kind of under the sheet how Google sees your website, and it will help you with indexing and keeps you informed of any issues. So if they decide that we can't index this page or something's going on, Google will send you an email and say, hey, something's not right here. So that's why you've got to have Google Search Console. It's fine if you trust your web company to manage Google Search Console for you, but make sure that you're an owner. Just like Google Analytics and GA4, it's fine if your web company manages it, you have to own it. And the last thing that you must have is Google My Business. And so Google My Business is now the Google Business Profile. And I put a little marker up here to show that this is local SEO. So Google Maps, that's for consumers. Google My Business or Google Business Profile is for businesses. It's a ranking factor, and it's especially a ranking factor. It's such a ranking factor now that we're actually doing GMB optimizations, and we are doing Google My Business posting for people, because this is what Google has said it wants. So it's certainly a must-have to have your Google My Business profile. Absolutely a must-have. So let's just take a look. So traditional SEO, when we think about that, and obviously, you're not seeing the, I cut it off here at the bottom. You're not seeing the organic results here because I cropped the picture for the image here. But traditional SEO is you type in used car dealer, and we're looking at the results. So let me back up to show you that. And we're looking at the results over here. That is traditional SEO. Now, local SEO now really focuses on the map pack. And so the map pack, you see it over here as well. The map pack is when you do a search and you see 1, 2, 3, usually call it the 3-pack listings. And so local SEO is helping you to move into this higher ranking on the map pack. And the goal is to drive clicks and phone calls. And so what you'll see is that the more you post on Google My Business, as annoying as it is, which is why we do it for people, the more you interact with Google My Business, in theory, the higher you're going to rank on this 3-pack. So again, so Google My Business, Google Maps is for consumers. So you type in Short Hills Design and on a map, and it's going to show you, map directions. And then over here on the side, this information, this comes from Google My Business's information also. So over here, so here's Google My Business. So all this information that you have provided, that's our old address. That information is from your Google My Business listing. So if you're to go in there and post and type in your company, your practice's address, you're going to see the information listed over here, address, phone, hours, this and that. That all comes from your Google My Business profile, which you must fill out 100%. It's a ranking factor. And here's that 3-pack again. This is just a screenshot taken from search results. So now let's talk about the helpful content update. Well, before we do that, any questions about Google My Business? Any questions about the 3-pack? Okay, so let's talk about Google's helpful content update. So what are we dealing with and what did Google say? So this is a slide that I will read because it's important, and it comes from Google's developer blog. So Google said, quote, "We are launching what we call the helpful content update that's part of a broader effort to ensure people see more original, helpful content written by people, for people in search results." So they're not really saying anything new there. What they've said in the past is that if you write content for search engines, it's not going to rank. Content for search engines would mean, my name is David Wank, and I am a real estate attorney in Millburn, New Jersey. I love being a real estate attorney in Millburn, New Jersey, because people in Millburn, New Jersey love to have real estate in Millburn, New Jersey. That is content that's written for search engines. Whereas if you're writing natural content for people, which we've always said you should do, that is what they want to see. But now, and we've always known that. That's, those of you who've known me know that I've been saying that for a decade, and that hasn't changed. What seems to have changed, though, is this. Now, Google has said the helpful content update aims to better reward content where visitors feel they've had a satisfying experience, while content that doesn't meet a visitor's expectations won't perform as well. So let's dig into that. So what that means is that content written for people is going to be rewarded, and Google's going to push down content that was written for search engines or that it doesn't like. Now, how is this different from anything before? Hard to tell, but Google is now actively talking about how they are looking for people-written content. So we don't know if they're going to push a page down in search engine listings or if they're going to pull other pages up. Either way, the net result is going to be the same. So let's just break this down, though. The helpful content update aims to better reward content where visitors feel they've had a satisfying experience, while content that doesn't meet a visitor's expectations won't perform as well. So the question that I have, and everyone has, is how do we know when a visitor feels they've had a satisfying experience? That is subjective, and it's very difficult to know where visitors feel they've had a satisfying experience. And that, again, doesn't meet a visitor's expectations, won't perform as well. How could we possibly measure what visitors' expectations are? So that's not easy to do, but there are ways that we can do it. So what do we know? We know that we need content, and we know that we need quality content. But now what? What is quality content? Well, what is it? So let's ask, how does Google judge content? And here's the link where we found out, and they gave us a list. So let's go through the list and see how we do. So number one, do you have an existing or intended audience for your business or site that would find the content useful if they came directly to you? Yes, that applies to almost all of us. As a web developer, I have a web developer website. As a dentist, you've got a dental website. As a physician, you've got your physician website. What they're looking at here is for websites that try and be more things than there really are to try and get extra traffic by aggregating other content that really isn't a source in and of itself of content, like your dental website or your legal website or a medical website. So that's a check mark for us. 2, does your content clearly demonstrate firsthand expertise and a depth of knowledge? For example, expertise that comes from having actually used a product or service or visiting a place. And I would say yes for most of us. I mean, clearly, if we are, a lawyer and we're writing about the law, about here are the real estate laws and here are the steps you need when you buy a house, or you're a dentist and here are the steps, here's the reasons why you have to have a cleaning every 6 months. So that's certainly a check mark for us as well. Now, does your site have a primary purpose or focus? Again, yes. If it's about, but again, if you're building some kind of aggregator website that's aggregating content from all over the place, your site might not have a primary purpose or focus. Aggregating content might not really count as a focus. But for those of us who are small business owners or running in the professional service industry or both, there's crossover. Yes, it has a primary purpose or focus. And those 3 questions seem pretty much the same to me, but it's the same thing asked in different ways. But hey, this is exactly taken from Google's list of questions. Now, number 4, here's where it gets interesting. After reading your content, will someone leave feeling they've learned enough about a topic to help achieve their goal? And I wrote subjective and opportunity. First of all, if someone's learned enough about a topic to achieve their goal, why would they leave? So this is certainly subjective. How can we tell? But it's also an opportunity because we want to make sure that people felt they learned enough about a topic to achieve their goal. Now, same question here. Will someone reading your content leave feeling like they've had a satisfying experience? Well, again, if they've had a satisfying experience, why would they leave? I would think if they had a satisfying experience, they would contact us or do something like that. So this is subjective, but it's also an opportunity. Now, core updates. Google's core updates, we said earlier that, content is king and that you always want to have, quality content. And Google has been saying this for years and years and years, what makes good content. So I'm just going to read a few of these because these are the important ones. At the very end of this presentation, I have a whole list where I checked off the kind of important ones, but just to show you, these are the key. And these you should have anyway. So do the heading and subheadings fit with the content? Does the author sound authoritative with an expert level knowledge? Is the content free of factual errors? Is it presented well? Spelling errors, so neatness counts. Organized layout that appears planned. Does the content display well? So here's an example of content that we just wrote literally for one of our SEO clients. And we're going to talk about the hub and spoke model in a few minutes. But this is the top 8 questions about general dentistry answered. So do the headings and subheadings fit with the content? Yes. What treatments are available for covering roots? Here's content. What is dental bonding? I have constant bad breath. What could the problem be? So these are all headings and subheadings fit with the content. I wrote it. It's certainly authoritative. It's certainly free of factual errors. The content is presented well, and it displays well on mobile. Now, what we're going to do as the next step for this client is we're going to start linking now to these exposed roots to his probably sensitivity page. We'll take the dental bonding to the composite page, the whitening composite, or we'll take it to the white fillings page, or maybe even to a cosmetic dentistry page. But the point is that we're making this long form content and we're linking it to other content on the website. So this is so no matter what content you have, this should be a no-brainer in terms of the subheadings and headings fit. Are you authoritative? Like these should be things that you learn when you do your homework. This is how your homework should come into class. It should be done properly. So you think I'm okay. So you'll probably be okay if you've written your own content, you're probably okay because you check, at least all these boxes. You're authoritative, factual errors. I would hope you spell check. You've customized any stock content. We sell stock content for dentists, and I encourage people to obviously customize that content. Not everybody does, but I certainly encourage you to customize it because that gives it a new touch. Do a proper site architecture and internal linking structure. That is really how your website was built. These days, there's really no excuse not to have proper architecture and internal linking structure. That's something you can ask your web provider about. And that your website is neat, organized, and easy to read on desktop and mobile. And again, that's something you can certainly look at and see We all know when you see a website that is easy to read, looks smooth to your eyes, and you can check it on desktop, and you can certainly check your website on your mobile device to make sure that it looks good. Now, let's talk about how you survive the helpful content update and use it as an opportunity to get more new patients and more new customers. The basic approach. So what you want to do is, the first thing you want to do is look at your existing content. And the second thing you want to do is new content. But let's look at existing content first. So take a look at your most important content. If you're a dentist, your veneers page or your implants page, those are more important than your hygiene page. Use the 80-20 rule. And make sure and write it down if you have to. Get a pen and paper and say to yourself, what are the most important services to me that I want to promote? Dental implants, implant dentures, and ceramic crowns. So now that you know what your most important content is for you, and again, you don't have to look at the data, think about it in your head, because if you look at the data and the data says, well, your implant page isn't that popular, it's not going to change the fact that you want to make it popular. And so what I would do is then look at this content, go to your website and say, does this content check the rules off we presented before? That was on this slide. Ask yourself these questions. Do the headings and subheadings fit with the content? Did you buy content from somebody who doesn't know what they're writing, or is not a primary speaker of the language of your website, and there are, the grammar's off or things like that? Make sure it's obviously accurate and it's neat, and is it nice on mobile? So those are the things that you can do on your own that are non-technical to help with existing content. Then with new content, what you want to do, think about what new content would be beneficial. So let's take a look at implants, for example. If you have a dental implant page, what new content might be beneficial? Well, what else is associated with implants? Bone grafts. Should I have an implant or should I try and have a crown on the tooth? What's the cost of implants? What's the process? And so in this situation, you're going to think about what content would be beneficial. You don't need to do the research. And then add the content. Use the principles from here to add this content. So, to check these boxes off. And what you want to do is you want to build it in the hub and spoke format, like a bicycle. So you have a page like this dental implant guide, which is a hub page. And so what happens is, this is the structure that Google has recommended for getting more visibility on search engines. So this would be your dental implant guide, or like you saw here, our top 8 questions. You might have top 5 questions about dental implant, or even dental implant guide, and all about bone grafts. So you would have a paragraph or 2 about bone grafts, and you'd link to your bone graft page. And then your bone graft page would link back to your dental implant guide. So you'd say, bone grafts are important because of A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you should always consider a bone graft before you have a dental implant or after an extraction. Learn more about dental implants and our dental implant guide. Implants or crowns. So many people want to know if I should have the tooth taken out, a root canal and treated, or this and that, or taken out and have an implant. So learn more about that. So now we're on our implants and crowns page. Implants, same thing. Now you discuss all about implants and crowns and the plus and minus and why you do one or the other. You say, to get more of your questions about dental implants answered, check out our dental implant guide. And so you can see what's happening here. This is a hub page, and these are spoke pages. And the beauty of this, and the reason you're linking back and forth, is because Google looks at this and sees, wow, we have site architecture where we have this whole list of topics, and we expound upon, we discuss more about each of these topics in depth. And the beauty of this is now, these are standalone posts, and these are, little kind of briefs. But what you're doing when you're doing this is that if people start linking to this dental implant guide, let's say, which they might, you might say, wow, it's a really helpful guide. That is going to pass the link authority out to these pages. And if someone links to your, wow, this is a really great page about the cost of dental implants, well, someone from the outside links to it, you're passing link authority back up to this dental implant guide. So what you're doing is you are building reciprocal authority among all of these pages. And again, when Google sees this kind of meshwork, this network of pages, they get very happy. And so let's say that as a dentist, we might have this as our content pillar for dental implants. And let's say the other service that we want to do is cosmetic dentistry. Great, let's do a cosmetic dentistry guide. Cosmetic dentistry overview. What is the cost of cosmetic dentistry? Veneers versus crowns. And so now what you can do with your existing content, because we've gone back with many clients and looked at existing content, I have a client, we're going to make this dental implant guide page, let's say, and the client already has bone graft content, terrific. We're going to write a little brief here and link it out here to our bone graft page. We don't need a new one. Implants or crowns, well, we'll just, add that new page. And the idea is one of the things that you can do in the advanced section, which I'll talk about in a bit, is actually look and see what keywords people are using, what they're searching with, to know what questions to ask here. But in general, if you want to avoid all of that and you just want to write, think about what you hear every day in your practice or your business. What questions are people asking you every single day? And that might be really helpful in determining what parts of the guide you should write. So add the content using the principles we talked about above and the hub and spoke format. And then make sure the hub pages, this is a hub page, links to the spoke, and the spoke pages link back. And again, you can have multiple hub pages. And these are not necessarily your service pages. Your service pages say, hey, we are we'll do, so for example, for my Google Analytics service that we offer, we have a Google Analytics page that says, this is why we have to do all this Google Analytics 4 stuff. These are top 10 things that small businesses need to know about Google Analytics. And so I've got those posts and they link to each other. So we're building a Google Analytics 4 section and we're seeing our actual ranking. We're getting a lot of traffic for Google Analytics 4 migration. I have a separate service page about Google Analytics 4 migration because people who come to my website, people who type Google Analytics 4 might not necessarily be ready to buy. They might not know anything about it. So by having a guide that guides them about what are the basics, what are the, what's happening and why is it happening? What is the, what's going to happen to my other data? So all of these kind of topics are getting people to trust me and my website and the brand, and they're providing them information. And this is a really great information site. And so now, if and when they're ready to buy, we do have the Google Analytics service page, just like here. Notice how I'm not linking to your dental implants page, but certainly this page might link to dental implants as well. Have a free consultation, so things like that. So, but you're building these pillars. This is a pillar, a content pillar, the hub, that will hopefully have Google see your website as more of an authority and distribute the link authority across your pages to boost your listings even more. So now let's talk about solutions that we offer. So the way to solve this is with Google My Business optimization and posting and search engine optimization. This is really an SEO question for content. I'm going to mention the Google My Business optimization and posting because it's something that's really critical. We offer it, but it's something that you can do on your own. At the end, I have a link to the page on our website that details exactly what we do with Google My Business. So it's not a secret. There's no special formula. Let's take a look. So what you want to do is you want to optimize your listing, update and manage your NAP. So your NAP is your name, address, phone number. There's plenty. You can go to our YouTube channel. There's videos about that. Or if you want one, I have it, let me know. But your NAP listing, you just want to make sure that if you are ABC Legal, LLC, that it says ABC Legal LLC on all of your listings. You don't want to have, let's say you have a partner, John Doe and Jane Doe. You don't want to have Jane Doe dash ABC Legal, John Doe ABC Legal. You want to have, ABC Legal. What is the actual name of the company? And make sure that all of these listings across the web have that same thing. We use Bright Local for that because, again, Google is, the more Google looks around and sees that across the sites that it looks at, that these directories are listing sites, the more that Google sees that, the more that it's consistent. In theory, they are reassured by your presence and your consistency that you're a legit business. And then post weekly on Google My Business, and GBP is Google My Business profile. Posting weekly is really annoying. I think we're starting out to post bi-weekly or twice a week. And the reason is because Google, if you ever post on Google My Business, which we really hadn't done for years and years and years until now, Google will say, oh, your post is expiring in 2 days, or 7 days, it's coming. So every 7 days. So just to show you just some results for our clients. This is from March to August. So blue is the website clicks and purple is the phone clicks. And you can figure out, this is pretty standard. Maybe it went down in the summer a little bit. Here's a site that was launched, I think, in March. We started GMB. You can certainly see, without GMB and with our GMB service, they're getting a heck of a lot more phone calls. And the way that I see this is, even if here's 112 phone calls, look at that, they both had that. It's 112 phone calls. Those are people that clicked to call from the Google My Business listing, which means that the listing is being seen, people are clicking, and you should be able to convert some of those clients, some of those people out of 112. Now, obviously, they're all not going to be perfect, wonderful opportunities, but the idea is to get a handful. That'd be fantastic. Over here, this is kind of scary. This is a client of ours who had to pause for a reason we're not going to get into, but this was so far March, April, May, June. Phone clicks are here, website click. So phone calls and website clicks. This is the middle of September. So you can see there's a significant drop. So he's going to be re-upping the service for next month because, I mean, the difference of 100 is insane. So again, whether we do it for you or you do it for yourself, it's something that you really should be doing because, I mean, the proof is in the pudding here. Now, SEO. So when it comes to SEO, our SEO model, it runs in parallel with this content update. So the SEO model is, we first have a strategy sprint. We do it in sprints. We don't believe really we can, but we don't generally say, we're going to do a year-long SEO and, bill every month for SEO services, quote unquote. What we're doing is we're compartmentalizing it into small sprints like a race. So the strategy sprint, we're doing all the things here. You can read that. I don't have to read that to you. But what we're really looking at, number one is, and this is a website quality audit from one of our clients. This is a real one, that let's first look at the website itself and see what we're doing well. And that's what I said to you before, look at what content you want to rank for and look at your website and how it does. And so here what you can see, for example, is that this page here, they already rank 5th and there's a decent volume. So we're going to refresh it to try and get this from 5th to 3rd or 2nd. Because the idea is that if it's much easier to take a page that ranks already and move it higher than take a page that doesn't exist. And remember, think about it. Here is, if you rank 5th and we can bump you to 3rd, then all of a sudden you are higher in the rankings and you'll get more traffic and hopefully more, more clicks and more clients, more patients from that as we move you higher up. So this is what we look at as low hanging fruit, or what I want to call easier wins, because take what already does well, tweak it. Like here's one, this they already ranked 1st with a relatively low volume, but you know what? We can certainly target it with links because there are not enough links. That's here, you can't see that. Do some internal linking to help get more people to that page. It's a good page. So step one is look and see what opportunities you have internally that you already can do better with already. Before you start building a new house, let's go ahead and see what we can fix in our existing house that will get turned into revenue as soon as possible. And then after that, I don't have a picture here. We do a competitive keyword analysis, keyword gap, because I want to see now, what are your competitors doing? If you want to rank for, best real estate attorney, I want to see what other real estate attorneys are doing and what keywords they're using. And then we can see, well, how come we rank 12th and they rank 2nd? Well, and make sure the keyword is good. There's 2 searches per month, it doesn't matter. But we rank 12th, they rank 2nd. Let's take a look and see what the difference is. Well, we have 500 words, they have 1,500. We have to do better. They have more, they have images on there. Well, we've got to add images. So that's how you look at it to say, and that's obviously more time consuming and harder than optimizing what you have already existing. And so from there, we do our content sprint. And the beauty of this is that we want you to be able to purchase as much content or as little content as you want. But what we're doing is, this is that new keyword research that we're doing. We develop content groups, and we do content briefs or write the content depending. So let's say, for example, we did research, you wanted to do more dental implants, and your website doesn't have a lot of content about dental implants. So we'd look at what your competitors are doing. We'd look at the search volume and say, wow, these are, when we say new page keyword research, these are popular keywords. So let's write pages on these. Let's group the content. Remember how I said this dental implant guide is just one pillar of content, and cosmetic dentistry might be a 2nd pillar, and periodontal surgery and gum disease might be a 3rd pillar. So you're building out these pillars. And just here's to show you over here, for example, this is a client who wanted to rank more for wisdom teeth extractions. And so we did some research, and these are keywords that we did research for that we added when we rewrote we rewrote it because he had content already. Here are keywords that we added to it to boost up the content. And here were others. And then when we looked at the search intent, if you type wisdom tooth removal, one of the things that we talked about is search intent. And if you looked above and I said, well, how did someone get a satisfying experience? I don't know that. But maybe if we match their search intent, but how do I know what the search intent is? Wisdom tooth removal. So I wonder, are those people who want to learn how to remove your wisdom tooth at home, like a DIY in the garage? I hope not. Are those people, are they dentists who want to learn how to take teeth out? Probably not. Are they people who want to learn about the process? Or are they people who are in pain? Hard to tell. Obviously, we know it's not the first two. So what we do is you do a search for, and let's see, the keyword here is, well, can you crown a wisdom tooth? That's not the keyword we used. That was just an example. But let's say we did like your wisdom tooth extraction, and so, or wisdom tooth removal. What we saw is that out of the 10 pages on the search engine listing, we can see the intent. So when someone typed in wisdom tooth removal, 6 out of the 10 pages that show on the first 10 were specifically about, this is the process of removing a wisdom tooth and blah, 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 blah. So now I know that when Google sees wisdom teeth extractions, that this is the intent. What does a tooth crown cost? So dental crown cost was another keyword. And here were questions that people asked in framing keywords. And when we looked at the search results, dental crown cost was 4 of them. Types of crowns and cost were 4 results. And cost of crowns with and without insurance were 2 results. So the intent for dental crown cost is people are looking to know what types of crowns there are and what those crowns cost. And that's important to know when you write the content, because now I know what Google thinks. It's one thing to know what I think that means, dental crown cost. It's another thing to say, well, Google thinks that this is the intent of the user, and this is what we're showing. So whether I agree or not, that dental crown cost should show whatever it should show, the fact of the matter is, when someone searches for dental crown cost, Google is showing pages that have dental crown cost in it and the types of dental crowns and their costs. So I would write the page, which we did, to combine that information. So that is content. And then, we do content in chunks, so we can add content to your website for you, but that's, how it's done. And these are just some cool results from some of I don't remember what the time frame is on here, but we can see that, increase in organic traffic, and that's great because that's what we want. I mean, it's very hard to figure out when you have someone who contacts your business or your practice, did this person become a new client, and how can I assign a value to that? How do I know that if I spent X amount of money, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month on marketing, that this person came from that marketing effort? It's very, very hard to do. So one of the ways that we do it is you're tracking organic traffic. If you keep seeing organic traffic going up and you're seeing your numbers go up, independent of everything else, then you are able to make an assumption, a loose assumption, but a good assumption that, I'm getting more traffic and I'm getting more business, which is good. So when you have results from any kind of marketing, you want to look at how many more phone calls and contact requests are you getting from the increase in traffic, and whether that's SEO or Google My Business. And again, I can't stress enough how important Google My Business is. Even if, you don't hire us to do it, you do it yourself, do it. It will be worth it. But how many more phone calls and contact requests that you're getting? That's key. Because I know if I have, if I'm getting 40 clients a month, and then now I'm increasing my calls and contact requests and getting 50 clients a month, well, I know where it came from. How many of these calls and contact requests become revenue? New patients, customers, or repeat business? Again, hard to track, but you do the best you can. And is the increase in revenue higher than the cost of acquisition? Sure, if I told any of you on this webinar that if you give me $10,000, I can give you $100,000 in business, you would do it. And obviously that's the key, to say, is the increase in revenue I'm getting from any marketing effort more than my cost of acquisition? And a side note, something you should really, really know if you possibly can is, A, what is the lifetime value of a new client, new patient, or at least what is the yearly value? What is the first year value? Because without that information, you can't know how much it costs, how much you can afford to spend for a new patient. If you're doing an all-on-4, a dental implant case that costs $25,000, and let's say your cost on that is $5,000, I'm making that up, you could probably afford, $500 to get a new client. So that's great. But if the average yearly value of a new patient for you is $1,000, you cannot spend $500 to get a new patient. So the number actually doesn't matter. What really matters is how does the increase in your revenue, how do the results matter versus what it costs to get a new patient or a new client. Now, this is the advanced approach. If you're not interested in the advanced approach, you can certainly jump off the webinar now, but I didn't want to make people sit through this bit of the weeds. Certainly all welcome to stay, but if you don't want to, I understand. So here's the advanced approach. So let me just have a sip here. So I took these sentences from the Google descriptions from earlier. And so they feel they've learned enough to help achieve their goal. How could we possibly know that? And again, the answer is the search intent from the keyword. So if you are an attorney and someone has an article about, what happens if, well, here, we'll use our wisdom teeth that, or dental crowns. What is the cost of dental crowns? And so is this page, and again, we're looking at what are important pages to me. The cost of crowns might be a very important page because I want to do more crowns. So when I do type in Google now, cost of dental crowns, what pages come up? And, are they pages about what the wholesale cost of dental crowns are? Are they what the cost of the environment of, of broken dental crowns? Or are they literally, how much money do I have to spend to get a dental crown? And so knowing the search intent from the keyword will allow you to increase the chance that people have learned enough about a topic to help achieve their goal. And that's key. So if someone types Google Analytics for migration, I don't know if necessarily, and I haven't looked at this, if they're necessarily looking for a service to help them migrate, or if they are looking for information about when to migrate, why to migrate, do they have to migrate? So I wouldn't know that, so I'd have to look that up. And so again, if that's a key page for me, then I want to know what that search intent is. Now, satisfying experience. The only way to judge, in my opinion, the satisfying experience is time on the page and bounce rate. So if obviously you have your page about now wisdom teeth extractions, I know I have the right search intent because we're talking about, wisdom tooth extraction, and we matched up our search intent and we talk all about the whole process from start to finish and post-op and all that stuff, and that you'll be comfortable and yada, yada, yada. So now that I know I have search intent matched, you can go to Google Analytics and say, okay, how much time are they spending on my page? They're spending 5 seconds on my page, not a satisfying experience. They're spending 6 minutes on the page, that's satisfying. And then same thing with bounce rate here. So if the bounce rate, so the bounce rate is the measure of someone came to my website and left. And the way I see it is, so if someone lands on your wisdom tooth page and the bounce rate is 99%, that means 9 of the 100 people that saw this page, 99 people saw it and left, didn't do anything else. So before COVID, when I would lecture, I would use soup as an example. So if someone comes into you own a restaurant now, if 100 people come into your restaurant and 100 people taste the soup and 100 people leave, they don't like the soup. That's 100% bounce rate. There's something wrong with your soup. But if out of the 100 people who taste your soup, 90 people stay or 10 people leave, that's a 10% bounce rate, which means 90% of the people who taste your soup like it and move on. So there's something good about my soup. But if I'm getting people in the door and they're tasting my soup and 100% of them are leaving, then something's wrong with my soup. And what people will do that's a mistake is they're going to say, well, let me do some paid advertisement to get there. And the truth is, if you're coming into my restaurant for free and I'm offering you my soup and 100 people leave, paying you to taste soup that nobody likes doesn't make any sense. So before we would do that, we want to check the bounce rate. So for a satisfying experience, if the time on the page is high and the bounce rate is low, that's key. Something to know, just so you know, the bounce rates on blog posts can be high. So don't panic if you see a bounce rate on a blog post, because if you have a blog post about that says, what are the options for, can I be knocked out when I have my wisdom teeth taken out? And that post might say, well, here are the options. Number 1, we get you numb as usual. Number 2, we use nitrous. Number 3, IV sedation. And you say, oh, great. I spent 8 minutes on the page reading that. I have what I have to know and I leave. because that was not someone who was ready to have their wisdom teeth out. That might be someone who went to the dentist today and the dentist said, hey, you have to have your wisdom teeth out. So, think about that. In the next year, you're going to have them out. So I'm not ready to do that yet, but I might want to know about it. So I spend time on the page, but the bounce rate is high. That doesn't necessarily mean that that page is bad, because if they spend a lot of time on the page and it's a blog post that answers someone's question, what are the types of knocking me out you can do for wisdom tooth extraction, that's okay. And then care and aesthetics, obviously make sure the page looks good and the things we discussed before. That is also again related to time on page and bounce rate. If your page is hideous, your bounce rate is going to be very high, and the time on the page is going to be low because people aren't reading your content. So here's the nitty gritty. So what you want to do, use Google Analytics and establish an analytics baseline. So look at what your average monthly organic traffic is from your state or wherever you do your business, so you can tell if your website has been affected. Google said they were putting this update in at the end of August. So look and see what your traffic looks like and see if it takes, if it drops down precipitously or not. You can certainly take a look. Now, look at your most important content, your veneers page or implants page, whatever is the most important page, and that's internal. You say to yourself, what are my services I want to promote more? Now, audit your existing content. Let's take a look at those veneer pages, that implant page, whatever it is, and say, is it a spammy page? Does it say, Dr. Wank likes to do veneers in New York City. He's a dentist in New York City, and New York City people like veneers that are made by dentists in New York City. Is it spammy? Is it filler? Is it overly salesy? Does it focus on the service or condition in question? And that you have to look at your website to see that. Look at your own content and audit it. Now, audit your existing content. Who's the audience? Where are they in their buying cycle? Does the content in question match the user's intent? So let's talk about then, same thing with wisdom teeth. So if the question is, how can I be knocked out during my wisdom tooth extraction? And you're talking about, well, it costs $500 a tooth, and we have a special, and that your wisdom teeth are, sometimes they come in at bad angles. Sure. But the intent of this user is, what are the ways that I could not feel these wisdom teeth? They want to know, regular anesthesia, local anesthesia, a shot, nitrous oxide, or IV sedation. That's what they want, or go to the operating room. That's what they want to know. So who's the audience? Is that audience for someone who's searched for, ways to get knocked out during an extraction? Are those people who are looking to buy? Are they people who are just exploring? So that someone who says, what are dental veneers? They're probably looking at, I'm in the discovery phase. I'm learning about what veneers are. They're not ready to say, well, here you go. Here's $100 off your veneers. So you don't want to necessarily give offers to people who aren't ready for the offers. So if they're saying now, what are the costs of veneers? Well, yeah, that's someone who's looking for to purchase veneers or invest in that, the treatment. Or if they're saying veneer dentist near me or real estate lawyer near me, that means they're looking for somebody to actually, that's intent to buy. So you want to give them that content. So does the content match the intent? And it seems subtle, but it actually isn't. Sometimes, again, like we said before, GA4 migration. I can't tell you that. I can't tell, because that could be anything. You've got to look and see what Google says about that. But, Google migration service cost, I know what that intent is. And someone writes GA3 versus GA4, they don't know enough about it to make a decision. So for that user, I'm not going to try and sell them our service. They're not ready for it. Look at the bounce rate and time on page. These important pages, like we talked about. High time on page and low bounce rate suggest helpful quality content. Here's about blog posts. Add internal links from other pages to the most important pages above. So you want to direct people to these important pages. So like we said over here, we might find that this page here really ranks well as your dental implant guide. And then what you might want to say is, if you have a veneers page, the service page itself, maybe now that you're here, or let's say your dental implant page, you can use some of the link juice you get to this page to push it to your actual service offer page. So adding internal links. Now, make sure your content looks good on mobile. That's huge. I don't like mobile. I don't like shopping on mobile. I really don't, but it's just a factor of life. So make sure your content looks good on mobile. Use your smartphone, visit your website. Can you read it? Then make sure your website, loads quickly, doesn't feel fast. That has to do with hosting, but you can certainly get into the weeds with page speed tests. If you email me, I will, or post on Facebook, whatever, I will show you how to actually look at that technically. But if you want, does it feel fast to you? Because it's really subjective. But if it feels fast, you're probably okay. If it doesn't, it's something to look into. And then new content, advanced, think about what content's beneficial. This is the same as before. Hub and spoke, make sure they all link back to each other. Now, to find what new content you should do, use the Google Ads keyword tool to brainstorm keywords. I have a playlist here about keyword research using that, so you can look at that. Then find the keywords with the most volume that relate most closely to services that you're offering. So again, if those services are, dental implants, what keywords have the most volume and what relates closely to my service. If, and then that's how you're going to decide what keywords you want to optimize for. And you write content based on these keywords. So here's a list of resources. I will make these slides available. Not going to read this. It's a list. You could see it. And that is our webinar. So now before I let you go, right back here, I listed, this is from Google's core updates. Just here's some opportunities. You can look at that on your own if you have time, just to see what other things specifically that Google said they want about core content. So are there any questions? All right, so at this point, there are no open questions. So I just want to say thank you to everybody for coming. I appreciate you spending an hour with me on a Monday night, taking time out of your busy life and your busy day. And here's our contact information. And you'll be getting an email from Zoom, like a follow-up. And if I can get the recording out to you in that time, I will. If not, I will get you the recording and I will get you the slides. And again, let me know if you have any questions, and thank you all for coming.